My name is Christopher Smith. I'm professor and chair of musicology at Texas Tech University and the founding director of the TTU Vernacular Music Center. And I've been on the Tech campus for 21 years. You know, in the wake of the various announcements about the coronavirus and the various kinds of adaptations that we're all having to make in our day-to-day life, in terms of, do we shake hands, or do we self-quarantine, or how do we get good information? I'm trying to be a conduit for not only good information, but also just a kind of a sense of continuity for students. They've already been asked to make all kinds of adjustments in terms of an extended spring break and then resuming classes online, and how will that work, and what will we do, and what are all the details. And understandably, they're feeling some, I'd say, some sense of disorientation and potentially some anxiety. I'm not a clinician. I don't have any kind of counseling skills, but I've been a teacher for 40 years, and it's really a priority for me and for my respected colleagues that we help students feel that there is good data, which is offered with their own interests, best interests in mind, sort of centering student safety and health and wellness, both physical and also emotional. And beyond that, what I'm mostly trying to do is I'm trying to be an available, lifeline, accessible communicator, and provide a sense of continuity, even in these very disorientating, topsy-turvy environments. In terms of how I might interact with, how I might try to assist faculty colleagues who have concerns about course delivery or student health and wellness, I've been trying to aggregate quality information and make it available, particularly if it was quality information that is either directly relevant to performing arts students, or even more directly relevant to performing arts educators. One of the wonderful things, it's terrible to try to find silver linings in the midst of a pandemic, but one of the wonderful things that is emerging in the wake of COVID-19 is to see state governments and large universities really stepping up to pool information in accessible ways online, oftentimes using shared platforms, whether it's social media platforms or it's online storage platforms, or for that matter, online content delivery and interactive teaching platforms. It's been great to see state governments and large universities pool that information and realize, wow, there are a lot of people out here who have bits of solutions for these puzzles. And I don't claim to have anything like the expertise that IT professionals have, and I don't claim to have anything like the expertise that my respected colleagues who mostly teach online have. You know, some of the largest enrollments that we have here at Texas Tech are courses that are actually delivered online, and they're often delivered online by people who maybe previously, whose contribution previously maybe has not been fully recognized or recompensed. And yet they are absolutely the front line in terms of the maintaining the continuity and the excellence of the pedagogical experience. So I'm trying to encourage people to talk to colleagues, to talk to their IT people, to be considerate of their IT people whose systems are under massive stress right now, both organizational systems, but also, quite frankly, their physical and mental stamina. The kinds of things that the TLPDC is now being asked to take on because the TLPDC has this expertise. It's a huge stress on the system. And so be kind to people, be attentive, be responsive, recognize that almost everyone is working harder than they ever have in zones that are not previously necessarily their comfort zones, and realize that it's a fast-moving situation and that the response, especially from the state universities and the state governments, has actually been remarkably good. There are good people with expertise and good intentions whose priority is students and the quality of both pedagogy and of life, who can help and will help. There is one example I can give of some proactive things that I'm doing I haven't done before, but that I'm trying to do in a proactive fashion in light of the changes, and especially in terms of content delivery. I have students of all kinds of backgrounds with all kinds of personal resources or absent personal resources. I already have a basic needs security clause in my syllabi. I make it known that the students, if they have basic needs in security, they can there are resources, and they can also reach out to me if they feel comfortable sharing. And I think it was Thursday morning, the 12th, I guess the 12th, this past Thursday morning, I saw a Google Doc came across my social media. It was authored by a professor at NYU. It's about a 10 or 12 question Google survey, actually. It's a Google Forms. It's a survey, and it asked questions, it was for students to complete, and it asked questions about their access to various forms of teaching and learning platforms. Do you have access? Will you have an internet connection? Will you not? How do you access your courses? On what sort of device? Are you concerned about this? So it was both practical things like, will you have internet access? Do you have a device? Do you need a device? But it was also, are you concerned about other things? How many of you, if you have concern about if it would be inconvenient for you to remain away from campus after the 22nd, do you feel comfortable sharing why that might be? And there was a lot of space for other. And essentially, it was me based in this wonderful template that was freely shared by this NYU prof. Basically, it was me saying, using this wonderful template from an NYU prof, you students, please tell me what your concerns are, what your needs might be, how your needs might shift because of these changes in our schedule and delivery method, so that I would have quality data from the students themselves. And they, conversely, and I think quite rightly, were able to feel that they were being heard. Because that's really the two parts, for me as a teacher anyway, somebody who's been doing it 40 years, those are my two priorities. That the students receive quality data, whether it's about music history or COVID-19, and that they feel that their concerns and needs are being heard, whether it's about music history or COVID-19 or basic needs insecurity or anything under the sun. That's my mandate as a teacher. And I will fight very hard to continue to center the student and the student's learning and well-being. In terms of what I'm doing to take care of myself, I'm glad that you asked me that, partly because I'm not sure I have a great answer. But I'll answer by giving you an anecdote. Before the president's announcement that we would be extending spring break and that we would be resuming education online, which of course, understandably, caused quite a spike of anxiety for lots of people. The last class that I taught before we got this message was on Wednesday morning. It's a large enrollment class in our large choir hall. It's got about 85 students in it. So I took the last 15 minutes of class and I said, by the way, this is the last meeting we're going to have because we're taking Friday off because people are traveling. So let's talk about COVID-19 and getting good data and ways to take care of yourself. And I said to them, and I gave them the information I had at that time. I said, please keep reading your email. Please keep communications. Don't fall off the radar. And then I said, oh, by the way, take your textbooks home. And since you're all music students, take your instrument home. Because if you're going to have to self-quarantine, you might as well practice. And so I expect that I will be staying in close touch with friends and family, both virtually and also with appropriate safety protocols face-to-face. I'm going to patronize a lot of local businesses, and I'm going to tip 30 or 35%, especially because people in the gig economy, this is devastating, especially for them. So I've got it, I'll tip it. I'll tip big. I'll make sure that I go out in a mindful and appropriate fashion. And then if I do wind up either sick or self-quarantined, I'm going to practice the accordion.